Well, hey there team, welcome back to the channel, welcome to my overview of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. For those not across it, I do overviews on this channel. I just have a look at the first 2 hours of a game, because that's the Steam refund window. Steam says you can make up your mind about whether you want to keep a game or not in that time, and broadly speaking, as a rule, I would agree. And say that 20 hours in, you're probably not going to change your mind about how you felt 2 hours in. So it's a short punchy video, broad strokes info, keep it around 10 minutes, and then you can make up your mind on your own. So look, let's establish, I'm just a mainstream normie. I come from a time, well, I was around when the first COD came out. In fact, I went back and replayed COD 1 this year. But I would argue that I'm representative of a fairly normie, mainstream, single-player audience that has, I suppose that I would argue that has been less of the focus in recent years through COD. COD's much more multiplayer focused these days, and whatever, make your money, and if you've got the audience, keep them happy. But during my youth, my teen years, young adulthood, whatever you want to call it, it was not unusual to pick up your new AAA COD yearly release, play the 6 to 8 hour campaign, and just be happy with that. So having said all of that, I love a good COD campaign for exactly what they are, just a bombastic, AAA action experience, but I have fallen away from it in recent years. So here we are, Black Ops 6. I'm out of the loop. I believe this is kind of more of a sequel to, I think it was called Cold War. And as much as I really enjoyed Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 3, controversial as it might be, that's probably one of my favorite CODs ever. I love the story in that. Jumping straight into this, feels very deep end. There's obviously established characters, so this game is very much a sequel to, as I understand, Cold War. So it's a bit deep end. There's a lot of information flying over my head. However, it's still really good. I'm still really sort of enjoying it. As far as the COD campaigns go, I would say it's less, at least in the early goings, again, it's still early days, but the pace that they're setting is less bombastic and much more towards, how would I describe? A more muted political thriller type game or movie, I suppose. Something like a Le Carre type movie. Things like A Most Wanted Man, The Night Manager, these things come to mind. And these are probably some of my favorite sort of political military type thriller games. A bit more Tom Clancy than, say, modern Mission Impossible, or even a bit more Mission Impossible 1. That might give you an idea of what's going on here. It's set very early 90s, and the construction is kind of post-Cold War behaviors. You're a bunch of ragtag crew that are a bit displaced because the war of sort of espionage, backroom dealings has sort of been pulled out from under their feet. Again, I'm using a lot of movie touchstones because I'm a bit of a cinephile, but even things like Ronin, which a great movie if you've never seen it, I get vibes from that as well. Still military, still thriller, but again, a bit more muted. That's not to say that it hasn't had some pretty cool explosive set pieces, but it is leaning into things like, well, for a good example is you sort of have this hub between missions, and it's an ex-bloody KGB Safehouse or something or other. And you can upgrade it. There's some very rudimentary upgrades, buying little armory areas that you can then in turn, I have one extra magazine in battle, that sort of stuff. So very entry-level RPG stuff. But one of the cool things that I really like is looking around this mansion, it's clearly got some sort of little hidden, not even Easter eggs, but there's something going on there, and I'm kind of enjoying the shroud of mystery. Something that kind of gets lost in a lot of modern gaming, especially in the bloody YouTuber scene, where everyone's climbing over each other to make guides and 100% everything, and do everything they can to sniff out every secret at the most minute size. I've just enjoyed looking around this mansion. I found a black light that I can now equip, and I'm following around. I found some footprints leading to, looks like there's a secret door behind a piano. I can press some of the keys, but there's a combination. I haven't really given it too much thought, but there's some sort of Russian character numbers in blacklight with arrows written on the wall, and in another corner of the house I found a sort of journal and that sort of stuff. So there's something going on there, which is cool. It's got me intrigued, and it is thematically consistent with what's going on here. There's a whole lot of mechanics, which, I probably sound like an absolute old out-of-touch boomer, but, armor plates, I believe, is a big thing in multiplayer COD these days. Again, I The last modern COD I probably played was something like, Blops 3 or Infinite Warfare, which I loved, but because that's not a COD game, it's a Battlestar Galactica game in disguise, or Interstellar in many ways. So I wouldn't make broad statements like this is a return to form, because I don't know what form is at the moment. But as someone who's coming home, let's say, it's been many, many years since I've played a recent COD game, and I just decided to go straight into this feat first. It's really cool. I'm really enjoying it. And again, as per the examples put forward, it does have its own twist on the spy thriller genre, which is wonderful. The gunplay feels great, I will say that. And I'm only playing it on just like basic bitch normal difficulty, but I find the challenge to be bang on. It's actually really good. Grenades seem to bloody blow up half a city block. The radius on them are a bit extreme, but it makes you move, I'll say that much. But yeah, just little things. Like I said, the armor plates, there's sort of gadgets as well, but it's much lighter on it. The examples I gave before, and I also went back and played Advanced Warfare earlier this year. I'd not played that before, and that's 10 years old. But again, that sort of time, probably when I stopped playing the campaigns, for no particular reason, was when they were starting to really power creep and add a lot of mechanics and bits and pieces, exosuits and gadgets and scans, and they were really getting into this sort of sci-fi stuff, which I wouldn't say it was a bad thing, but a lot of it I didn't particularly care to engage with because, I'm just there for the clean shooting. So almost refreshingly, at least from my perspective, it is a lot more sort of grounded, dare I say. You've got like a Q and an E activatable, and I think you can hold 3 to pull up a radial to re-slot them. So essentially you'll have like a grenade and a bloody throwing knife or something like that. But that's about as complex as it gets. And you got your 1-2 guns, and the gunplay is just really clean, and got little leans when you pop out of cover, and there's little ergonomic components that don't jump out at you, but I do notice that they have a synergy to them that adds more to the greater whole. So it's actually really fun coming back to this. And I would urge you, look, if you've got the splash around money, because it's not cheap. I guess this is technically a DLC. It's got its own weird internal launcher within Steam. It's all just called Call of Duty now. So it's obviously a little bit of a, aren't video games a luxury item in general? But yeah, forking out $100 for a campaign is a bit of a stiff drink. But I also think most people that cross that boundary know the deal that they're making with themselves. Like I said, harkening back to buying the early CODs and launch day and pretty much never playing in multiplayer. Having said that, it has the multiplayer in there. It's got the zombies, all that sort of stuff as well. So like if you maybe have a bunch of mates or you are more multiplayer inclined, that probably takes the bite out of the price for sure. But yeah, I suppose that's my main sort of takeaway. I'm actually really enjoying this campaign. Not that I was expecting not to enjoy it, but I've used the term muted a couple of times, but that's how it feels. It feels a little bit more downplayed, and it's kind of cool. A different flavor from what I'm used to. So maybe you've been out of the loop and you haven't played a COD campaign in a while, and you were like me, basically, just a single-player COD dude from back in the day. If you've got the splash around money, this might be worth checking out. I think it's pretty cool. And, yet another series I need to add to the list. If you haven't been following it, I've been kind of retroactively reviewing some older games from yesteryear, and the COD games have got to go on the list as well. So yeah, I'll try and find some time to finish this and perhaps do a follow-up video with some final thoughts. But at first blush, I'm impressed, and I look forward to putting more time in. Anyway, team, much as ever there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.